9th, 2020. I have with me today Councillor Dita Burku, Councillor Sidney Ben Isri, Councillor Mike Cohen, Councillor Oren Sabag, Councillor Stephen Ertley, Councillor David Torgman, Councillor Mitch Kajavsky, and also I have our city manager, Tanya Abramovich, our co-city manager, Jonathan Schechter. We have our associate city manager, Nadia DeFuria, and we have our city clerk, Maitre Jason Prevost. And Daryl Levine is behind the scenes making sure that this all works. So before I start the meeting, I just wanted to make a few announcements. First of all, before I do speak about COVID-19 and a couple of other things, we will take a moment of silence to reflect on the individuals who are presently infected with the virus and those who have passed. Okay, so on the update for COVID-19, the infection rate in Côte Saint-Luc is high. It continues to remain high, which is why I sent a robocall out yesterday for those who received it. I received a call from Dr. Rosenberg on Thursday. He had been asked by Dr. Drouin to speak to me about a couple of issues. The main one being that I should send out that robocall and connect with the public to let them know that from the statistical data from Santé Publique, they can coordinate and assess the reality that individuals who are being infected in their homes, to a large extent, have a caregiver present who is also infected. It could be a cleaning person, it could be a nanny, it could be a caregiver, but stats show the Santé Publique authorities that many households, many of them large households with many kids, so it could be a family of 8, 9, 10, including a caregiver, are getting infected. Also, they explained that one of the reasons why our numbers are high is because we're a city of 34,000 people and we have large families in our city to a larger percentage than in other places where populations are bigger. And when one person gets infected, everyone gets infected. So instead of it being 2 or 3 or 4 people, often it could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people at the same address that are getting infected. And many times included in that grouping is an outside worker, nanny, caregiver, or a cleaning person. So they wanted to pass that information to me simply so that the public should know that we need to follow the rules to the best of our ability. There's certain things out of our control. We know there's a lot of outbreaks right now in schools where kids from our community go. And if you have a kid who goes to one of those schools and he or she comes home and infects the whole household, it's a tough situation. But for the most part, whatever we can do, we should do, which means to reduce our contacts wherever possible with others. And if we know that we have symptoms or somebody coming into our home has symptoms, make sure they get tested and that everybody that they know who's they've been in contact with also gets tested and doesn't infect others. So that's why I've explained why our numbers are high. I was also explained by Dr. Kaiser when I had a private meeting with him this week that I know our numbers are high as a city, but in terms of the districts where in other parts of the island of Montreal, there are large families, similar to the areas in our city where we have large families, we're much lower. Maybe we're number 7th or 8th or 9th. So our numbers are higher because our city is smaller and those big numbers on those addresses bring our rates up. Anyway, we don't want anybody to get infected, whether you have a large family or a small family. So please, please just try your best to follow all the rules, and hopefully we'll all be well. And for any of you who may have the virus, I'm only wishing you well and a quick recovery, and hopefully things will improve. There's talk now of a vaccine. Let's hope that it comes as soon as possible. It's looking promising that there should be something in the first quarter of 2021, and we're all looking forward to that. Two other announcements that I wanted to make also is, we're spending a lot of time now to help those individuals who may have certain issues with respect to isolation, depression, mental health. And we've been meeting on a regular basis to provide a source where we will be able to inform the community of all the programs we offer and all the programs being offered by our partners, meaning different organizations who work in our city, outside of our city, so that if you want to join a book club, or if you want to do knitting, or if you want to be part of an organization where you're discussing in a group therapy session, you'll be able to do so, and we will have a phone number where you can call, and a person at the City of Côte Saint-Luc that will direct you to the area that would be most useful for you to not feel isolated, to not feel connected, and to be able to do the things that you enjoy to do in life, even if you may have to do them remotely. And we also will, as I mentioned yesterday in my robocall, train anybody who has a device, and we're also partnering with organizations that are giving out devices based on specific criteria, and we will be providing that information too, so you can apply for a device to those organizations. Grants are being given. We want everybody to be connected if you're stuck at home. And of course, we still have telephone programming, and there are things that you can do at home alone, but still help others, such as knitting, and then those items go to others. So there's all ways that we want people to be connected and feel that we're part of the community and we all care for each other. So, je veux remercier tout le monde pour tout le travail qu'on a fait jusqu'à maintenant pour la COVID-19. On va travailler ensemble. J'espère qu'on va avoir un vaccin bientôt. Et la ville est avec vous si vous avez besoin de nous pour assister pour votre santé. On est là pour vous aussi. La santé mentale et la santé physique. The next thing I wanted to announce is that on Wednesday, 11 o'clock, we're going to be having a Remembrance Day virtual ceremony. It's at 11 o'clock, as it's the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, when World War I was ended. So that's when it will take place. And I think, Daryl, do you have a little preview that you want to show people of what a tasting of what you will see in larger format on Wednesday? So please join us on Wednesday at 11 o'clock for our virtual Remembrance Day ceremony. I also want to announce that, it's now been over 13 months since we lost our dear friend and councillor of District 8, Ruth Kovac. It's hard to believe that time has passed and she is no longer with us, and life has never been the same, but she always guides us through. We know what she would do and what she would say. As it is less than a year to the next election, and we didn't have a by-election called because of the fact that there was COVID, and all by-elections that were planned were canceled as we moved into the red zone. And now we're less than a year, so District 8 will remain vacant for an entire year. So I will be available as the mayor and as the district councillor for District 8. I want people to know, as they've been calling me for the last 13 months, along with the help, and I want to thank Councillor Cohen and Councillor Torgman for the help they provided over the last 6 months. it's not an easy job to be a city councillor for any one of you. And I know that as well. But as a full-time mayor, I have the ability to give a little extra time to District 8. And people have been calling me, and I want to let them know that I'm there for them anytime now for the next full year. And at this time next year, we'll have an election and we will fill all the seats, including District 8. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Now I would ask Jason Prévost, our city clerk, to...
Sorry, Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Before we move to question period, I have a point of order.
Yep.
If I may.
Mm-hmm.
This month marks a special occasion. It marks the 30th anniversary of the election on November 4th, 1990. At that election, Mayor Brownstein and Councillor Kovac were elected for the first time 30 years ago this week. And your spouses are helping us this evening with a surprise, and they'll be presenting you with a certificate signed by our city manager, Tanya Bravich, mark the occasion. And I have to say, it's been a pleasure working with the two of you over the last 15 years. And I want to congratulate you on your service to the city for 30 years. And I yield my time to our city manager, Tanya Bravich, to say a few words on behalf of the staff and the council.
Mr. Mayor and Councillor Burku, it is my distinct pleasure to mark your significant milestone tonight. In a difficult year, we must take the time to celebrate individual lives. If it weren't for COVID, I would have made this presentation in the council chamber with your families who have conspired with us to give you these certificates. 30 years ago, you started your political careers in Côte Saint-Luc. I don't think you knew then how long you'd be in office, and you certainly did not know what the future would bring. You just wanted to serve your community, and so you have. I have had the privilege of working with you for almost 20 of those 30 years, and I know firsthand what accomplishments you've achieved and what a difference you've made to the residents. On behalf of the staff of the City of Côte Saint-Luc, I wish you both a heartfelt congratulations. When we achieve milestones such as this, you recognize and celebrate us and our careers. It is therefore fitting that I, as city manager, do the same for you. Well done on 3 decades of public service.
Thank you. Thank you.
If I can add, there are members of your original council who are watching this now. Richard Schwartz, Glenn Nashin, and Alan Levine, as well as that newborn baby we took door to door throughout your district, who is now our full-grown
my 30-year-old son, yes.
Mazel tov.
And my daughter's videotaping. Hi, Mar, thank you. We're in the same bubble. I got one at home. Okay, guys, let me go back to work. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ida, I wish you all the best. What did you do? What did you do?
was very well done surprise.
All the best.
Thank you.
30 years went by very fast, Dita.
30 years.
And you still look very young.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Maybe.
All the best to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
This is a big surprise. Let me tell
Yeah,
you,
it
I'm
is a surprise.
totally surprised.
Dita, the logistics was pretty complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It wasn't easy.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
So much.
thank you, Tanya. Thank you, staff. Thank you. That was Regine and Daryl Communications, I'm sure, and everybody. I mean, that was quite the surprise. So thank you. Thank you. It's been a great 30 years, really. It's a great city. I know Dita loves it as much as I do. We certainly didn't always agree on many issues over the years, but that has always been the beauty of Côte Saint-Luc and our council, that we are able to be independent and have voice our own opinions and disagree and move forward on issues, whether we have common view on it or not, and respect the majority of council and move forward. So, you know, I've learned a lot from Dita, and sometimes it's frustrating when you don't agree, but we discuss it, and we agree to disagree, and then we move on. And most of the time we agree anyway, so that's great. So, and that's the same with all my fellow councilors. So we'll continue doing it. We're gonna have a great future because we have the greatest city. Dita, if you want to say anything, fine. Otherwise, I'll go to question period.
I just want to say, I really appreciate this. I'm totally surprised. I haven't been thinking about this at all. I've been thinking about, all the challenges we face going forward. And so I think this is quite a nice touch. I really do appreciate. And I hope that going forward, we can continue to collaborate and to work together. Merci beaucoup. C'est très apprécié. Merci.
Absolutely. Okay, Jason, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I get to the questions that were submitted tonight, I'm just going to reiterate the rules for question period as I do every time. So questions could be submitted prior to 5 p.m. on the day of council meeting at the address questionperiod@cotesaintluc.org. And at the end of the agenda, we're going to open the chat option on the YouTube page, and residents can submit their questions at that time. Je vais répéter rapidement en français. Donc, les questions peuvent être soumises avant 5 heures, le jour de la séance du conseil. Les questions sont soumises par courriel à l'adresse suivante, période de questions@cotesaintluc.org. À la fin de l'agenda, aujourd'hui, on va ouvrir l'option chat sur la page YouTube et les résidents peuvent soumettre leurs questions à ce moment-là. We have 2 questions tonight, Mr. Mayor, so I'm going to start with the first one. Question is from Norman Sabin. Why is there now a stop at Caldwell and Maple Ridge? There is rarely any traffic from Maple Ridge, and the sight lines at the intersection are good. What is the point of making hundreds and hundreds of vehicles stop every day for nothing, increasing GHG emissions as well?
Right. Well, because cars turning from Caldwell onto Maple Ridge are passing a crosswalk. There's a bus stop and a school nearby. And in order to improve the safety of that corner, it was recommended by the traffic committee to put in a stop sign. So hopefully that will improve safety for that corner and not be too much of an inconvenience to cars. The next question.
Okay, the next question is from Heather Treston. Thank you for your messages to the residents of Côte Saint-Luc to stay safe and observe the rules of no visitors. My question is concerning the dwelling zoned residential being used for other purposes, namely places of worship. Why don't these rules of no visitors apply to these houses? People are coming and going all day long.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent question. And it's been discussed at length with Santé Publique, and it's been recommended that these places be allowed to continue to have the 25-person rule apply to them because they are known places that are controlled. That means that because there's a rabbi there, because they follow the rules of wearing masks, physical distancing, and washing their hands, it is not only better for those places to exist, but if they didn't exist, we would have people who must do prayer. It's also considered an essential service, and they'd be doing it in places where there would be no order. There would be nobody ensuring that they were wearing masks, physically distancing, and washing their hands. And that is why the recommendation from Santé Publique is to not only allow those places, but they are recommending that we as a municipality find places within our city where people can do legal controlled prayer, whether it be a chalet or a room, that we find empty stores or other places in commercial centers where people can do legal prayer in a controlled environment where they could follow the rules. And as I mentioned earlier in my comments, Santé Publique, they are the ones with the statistics and the knowledge of where cases are breaking out. And it is their opinion, as I said earlier, that the cases are coming because of, not from organized prayer where people are following the rules, whether it be in a larger facility or not. It is coming from, unfortunately, some is coming from schools and kids, but wherever it's coming from, and also all the staff, caregivers and nannies and cleaning personnel coming in and out of people's homes. And because we have larger households, more people are getting infected. But they strongly, Santé Publique, Dr. Kaiser, and we've had meetings with the rabbis every Friday, are strongly recommending that we continue to not only allow them, but ensure that they are properly controlled and that the individuals using them are following the rules, which ensures that we don't spread the virus. And that's why that's why they exist. So that was a very good question. And I'm glad you asked it, so I'm able to explain it as I've been explained it from the people who know more than me about controlling the virus, which is the Health Authority of Quebec, because we don't have a health authority, the Health Authority of Quebec in Montreal. Okay, next question.
Those were the questions that were submitted before 5 p.m.
Okay, so that's it? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. Councillor Cohen.
I so move, Mr. Mayor, we adopt the minutes of October 5th, 2020, two meetings, one at 7:45 and one at 8 o'clock.
Moved by Councillor Cohen, seconded by Councillor Sabag, I believe.
Is it? Yeah.
Sure. Any discussion? All in favor? The minutes are so moved. Any business arising from the minutes? Okay. So then we're going to go on to departmental reports. Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby move the monthly departmental reports.
Moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Torgerman, Councillor Cohen, Councillor Cohen. All in favor? Any discussion? For the departmental reports, go ahead, Councillor Cohen, and then Councillor Erdeling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of notes. The community, I know he didn't live in Côte Saint-Luc, but today we lost Father John Walsh, who had been in our community many times and shared some of our human rights events. And I knew him very well. He died of a sudden heart attack at 78. So we extend our sympathies to his friends and to his family, a wonderful man. Also, we lost last week a gentleman by the name of Bobby Bornstein. And Bobby Bornstein was one of the founders of the Côte Saint-Luc Slow Pitch Association, which is not around anymore, but was around for about 30 years. And Rabbi Shoham, the late Rabbi Shoham, was one of the star players in that league. And they started off right in the park across from Beth Zion. So our sympathies to the Bornstein family. I was delighted with the very nice weather because I was able to take a very thorough district walk over the last couple of days. And I was lured into Rembrandt Park by a bunch of young kids. And we were talking about the basketball court, and I'll be in discussions with engineering this week. Hopefully some good news for the young people who like that basketball court that will be making improvements to it in the next year. As well, I wanted to mention that the Côte Saint-Luc Cats Committee, and you can see some of the beauties behind me right here. We had our virtual concert last month. I want to thank Daryl Levine for the excellent editing job he did. It's about 54 minutes. You can access it at côtesaintluc.org/cats committee. And we have a raffle right now that is our main fundraiser for the year. It's going extremely well. We have a stay at the Ritz-Carlton valued at $1,000, a great COVID getaway, and a bunch of other fantastic prizes. And people can go on côtesaintluc.org/cats committee and find out all the information. You can buy your raffle tickets by e-transfer, or someone will bring them to your house. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate everybody's support.
Thank you, Councillor Cohen and Councillor Erdely. And then Councillor Torchman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a segue, I was just looking for the latest count on the pets. I think we have 406 licenses to date for cats and dogs. A few other interesting stats: 166 water filter rebates have been given out to residents to date. We have 62 permits for car shelters as well. A few other items on the finance side. The priority over the last few weeks has been preparing the budget for 2021. And obviously we're doing our best to try to present a reasonable budget. And you'll be hearing more information about it coming up in the month of December in terms of both the capital and operating budget. A few other items. Last month, I had mentioned that the city was taking out a loan, as we do regularly, for capital projects for $6 million. We got a really great rate, one of the lowest I've seen, at 1.17% over average over 5 years, with the first year coming in at 0.5%, half a percentage point, which I think is the lowest I've seen to date. Another item on the finance side is we've done a transition for the city email on the finance and IT side, city email from Google or G Suite to Outlook or Microsoft Office, and I would say it's gone pretty smoothly. A few other items on the environmental side. We have reduced garbage to date, comparing this year to August compared to the previous year. Garbage down 13% and organic waste collection up 2%. And one of the projects that I had been pushing behind the scenes for several years is slowly coming to fruition in terms of LED lighting. So many residents may have noticed, starting September 28th, the city began switching over some of the Cobra heads. This is a project that will take a few years to replace all the thousands of lights in streetlights in Côte Saint-Luc, but to date, 526 LED lights have been installed on 79 streets. More will be happening. There'll be a few more probably done before winter really hits us. And then, of course, this will continue in 2021 and so on. But gradually it'll be less light pollution, better visibility on the road, less energy used, more environmentally friendly. And these lights hopefully will last at least 20, 30 years. So less work in terms of maintenance and replacement. And less issues for residents in terms of driving on streets with burnt out lights. So I'm happy that the project, and I want to thank the engineering department for their work on that. And that's all for now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. David, Councillor Torchman, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned earlier, there is the telephone broadcasting service that's available. I urge you for your family members that don't have access to the internet or smart devices, they can call in at 438-809-7799, and then there's a prompt of 500-514-054 #, and they can listen to something every day at 2 p.m. And it's a great service from the library. And additionally, there are multiple things that are available through the library websites. So check out csllibrary.org to find out a lot more. Il y a énormément de services qui sont disponibles via à la bibliothèque. Service téléphonique qui est disponible à chaque jour à 2 heures au 438-809-7799. Et après, vous composez le 514 054 et dièse pour écouter quelque chose à chaque jour à 2 heures. Également, il y a des services qui sont disponibles. S'il vous plaît, regardez le site web de la bibliothèque Eleanor London. Merci.
Thank you, Councillor Torchman. Anyone else? Councillor Burku.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's 3 items that I want to address. I have been working on projects and in particular, so I'll start with number 1. I'm actively involved in an organizing committee for the Cummings Center Conference to be held in January 2021. It's called Aging Well, Adapting to the New Reality. And we are going to post the link on our website so that members of the public, seniors, and also health professionals and people who are working with seniors, especially now in the COVID era, seniors who are suffering from isolation and who want to benefit from different options and technologies that we are obviously in need of. So this conference is going to address all those issues, and we are actively working on it, and I'm working with the Cummings Center group, and I'm very happy to do that on behalf of the City of Côte Saint-Luc. So look for that and register for that conference January 21st, 2021. Second item is the merchants are suffering in Côte Saint-Luc due to the lockdown. We know this. And we have information webinars which are offering grants and programs for those merchants. Again, these webinars are available every Thursday, the 12th of November, the 19th of November, the 26th of November, and the registration is available on our website and actually our Facebook. I was told that, there you go, Daryl is sharing the screen. We've posted on our Facebook, and you can register for these webinars. This is available to merchants in our community who are in need of grants and subsidies in order to get through this difficult period. The third item I want to address is the issue of transit. As you know, for the past 3 years, we've been working on mobility and transit and trying as desperately as we can to get Côte Saint-Luc decongested or be able to cross to carry, as I like to put it. About 2 weeks ago, the ARTM, which is the Regional Transport Agency, launched a public consultation. That public consultation is on their strategic plan for the next 10 years from 2021 to 2030, where they're going to spend billions of dollars on the island of Montreal on all different modes of transit. Côte Saint-Luc and the West End is not a high priority right now for them. And I think that it's high time that we go back to the ARTM and demand that it be a priority, that mobility and transit in our community, be it through the Cavendish extension, connected to electric transit, connected to a tramway, connected to all the wonderful things that they're promoting all across the island, that we get it in Côte Saint-Luc and in our community. So I am inviting those residents who are interested to contact me personally. And also I'm inviting you to go to our Facebook to see how you can register in order to give your suggestions and in order to promote the priorities which are important for Côte Saint-Luc. And all of that is going to be on our Facebook page. So I'm working on that. And of course, we're going to present a brief in December. And with the mayor, I'm going to continue working with the other three mayors. They call it the group of 4 mayors from Côte-des-Neiges, NDG, TMR, and Saint-Laurent and Côte Saint-Luc to demand that we get the Cavendish extension with the eventual tramway that is being promised, but is still in still not a priority for the ARTM. So those 3 things I want to mention, and I appreciate. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Burku, for that great summary. Je travaille étroitement avec conseiller Burku et à la dernière session de l'agglomération du Montréal, j'ai demandé à Madame Plante et Monsieur Caldwell des questions au sujet du Cavendish et aussi de ce tramway. We're working together. Alan D'Souza also spoke to the City of Montreal. Sue Montgomery has also spoken. on the issue. And we also have met with Philip Waugh as a team, the 4 mayors. And recently, Eric Codwell has made a presentation to us, which includes an eventual tramway, but as Councillor Brickell explained, it's not on the RTM radar yet. So it would be nice to get it on their radar, and that's what this discussion's all about, that Councillor Brickell has been mentioning. We need to push for it, as it's definitely something that the City of Montreal is now proposing for Cavendish Extension, which is great. None of the mayors we're all in favor of it for sure. Mayor Montgomery, Mayor Waugh, Mayor D'Souza, and myself, we're all in favor of that addition to the Cavendish Extension, but certainly we need to push for the extension quickly, and we wanted to move to the BAP as soon as possible. My question to the Agglomeration Council was that it should be at the BAP, which is the next review stage, by May 1st. So we're seeing what we can do, and working with Mr. Codwell and Mayor Plante. And thank you, Councillor Brickell, for all of that. And we will push this file forward and get hopefully that tramway added to the Cavendish extension. Councillor Sabag.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In terms of public safety, since the month of March, we've been talking about COVID, some of the issues around it, how it's affecting our city. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about some positive aspects. For once, this week, we saw the world change politically. We saw today Pfizer announcing that they most likely have a vaccine that's 90% effective and safe. And that's tremendous news for the world. So I want to stay in that positive note. We're having tremendous weather as well in the Northeast, which I hope everyone is enjoying as well. We've had record-breaking people taking the flu shot this year as well, and that's also very, very important. So I want to keep that positive note and talk about some of the meetings that we've had, you and me, Mr. Mayor, in terms of trying to re-engage our VCOPs as well, hopefully very shortly. We're doing a survey in the VCOPs to make sure that we have our volunteers in line with city expectation. So that's moving forward nicely. And I want to continue to commend, even though we're seeing numbers and even though we're in a red zone, I heard some rumors that we might be moving out of the red zone soon. So that's something to look forward to. And as we approach the holidays and Hanukkah and Christmas, that we all have a chance to enjoy each other. So I want to keep that message positive, no pun intended, obviously, to the people of Côte Saint-Luc. So thank you for allowing me to give that message today.
Thank you, Councillor Zabag, and that's all giving us a lot of hope. Those were very good messages. Thank you. Councillor Gajowski.
I'll keep the positive messaging going. I'd like to thank our Parks and Recreation staff for keeping some of us a little bit sane. As you know, most of our city facilities are not open right now, but we do have limited activities available. For those of you who don't know, we have free skating available at Samuel Moscovich Arena. The lap swim or the competition pool and the recreation pool are open by reservation, both skating and swimming by reservation. So I'm here to remind you, go and get your fun cards. These activities are free for fun card holders. So go and get them. It's great to get out there. I'm going about once or twice a week skating with my kids. We go to the pool once a week. So I highly recommend it. It's nice to get out, feel a touch normal once in a while. I highly recommend it. On another note, there's a joint initiative right now that we're trying to move forward, and it looks very promising, that we'll have additional outdoor ice surfaces available for the public this coming winter. So of course, it's weather dependent. We need cold, obviously, for outdoor surfaces, but we're looking at on top of the outdoor rink that is installed at Schwartz Park every year, as well as the annex, the Butler Building at Trudeau Park. We're looking at an additional 5 ice surfaces. I don't have the park list in front of me right now, but I know Fletcher, Singerman, Kerwin, Rembrandt, and one other that I can't recall right now. We're going to have natural snowbank borders, so no boards. And yeah, so cross your fingers for cold, I'd say, do want to have a mild winter, but at the same time, we'll need a little bit of cold for those outdoor surfaces, and encourage people to get out and skate this winter.
Right.
That's it for me, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gajowski. Yes, I'm excited to see those. When I grew up on Borden Street across the McDowell Park, there was an ice surface, and we would just go out and skate. And we're going to go back to those days, hopefully with all these 5 new ice surfaces, weather permitting, that people will be able to physically distance, follow whatever rules are required for COVID. We'll have a sign up there, and people can go out and enjoy the fresh outdoors.
The 5th was Trudeau Park Lake.
Trudeau Park Lake, that's a nice one. Okay, it's right close to where I live. I'm going to have to get out there. Okay, any other comments? Okay, so now we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is, I think that was moved and seconded, and we need to see if we're all in favor of the departmental reports. All in favor? Very good. Carried unanimously. And now we move to financial services 5A. And these are notices of motion and tablings. So Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2531 to be entitled bylaw 2531 repealing bylaw 2443, authorizing a loan of $1,365,000 for renovating and upgrading the pump station located on Côte Saint-Luc Road will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. Furthermore, I hereby table draft bylaw 2531 to be entitled bylaw 2531 repealing bylaw 2443, authorizing a loan of $1,365,000 for renovating and upgrading the pump station located on Côte Saint-Luc Road.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. So that's a notice of motion and a tabling. Anything to explain?
Yeah, so if I may, so this project was done, and actually this is the 3rd and final of the 3 pump stations that we've done in Côte Saint-Luc. So over the last 10 years or so, we've replaced the pump station at the Côte Saint-Luc Road underpass, at the Westminster and Cavendish underpass. It's something the residents don't get to see up and, first, let's say up in person, but it's there to prevent, of course, the underpasses from flooding when there's a large rainfall. We've seen it, for example, in other parts of the island, like the Acadie underpass on the highway that has flooded quite a few times in the last few years. Whereas we haven't had any going back to, if I can think about, till the 80s when we had some of the major rainstorms back then. All that to say, this project, rather than being funded through a loan bylaw, was actually funded through our water reserve, our water surplus. So because of that, we don't need to borrow the money. And what we do in the case like this is we cancel the bylaw so that the provincial government doesn't think we are potentially going to be borrowing this money. An analogy I like to give is an individual who has too many credit cards in their name. When you go to borrow money, it hurts your credit rating, and it's recommended by the credit companies to cancel some of these extra credit cards so that you'll have a better credit rating. The same is being done by the city in a loan like this, or a loan bylaw like this. We're canceling it so that it doesn't hurt our credit with the provincial government. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. And now we move to 5B, Councillor Erdely. Another notice of motion and tabling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just getting to that page. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2518-1 to be entitled bylaw amending bylaw 2518, setting the rate for transfer duties applicable to transfers for which the basis of imposition exceeds $1 million will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. Furthermore, I hereby table draft bylaw 2518-1 to be entitled bylaw amending bylaw 2518, setting the rate for transfer duties applicable to transfers for which the basis of imposition exceeds $1 million.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Anything to explain?
So just to explain briefly, so this is a notice of motion of a bylaw that will be adopted towards the end of December. And what this does is it affects the transfer duty or welcome tax, but it only is effective on properties that are over $5 million. So for any property under $5 million, the rates are not changing, and the rates, as residents may know, and this is available on our website, the rates are staggered from 0.5 to 1, 1.5% values Currently, the value or the tax rate for over $1 million, property that has over $1 million, and only I should say on the portion over $1 million is 2.5%. So what this means is for a property that has an evaluation of over $5 million, the portion from 1 million, let's say 1,000,001 to 4,999,000 will remain at the rate of 2.5%. But any property that has an evaluation or sold at over $5 million, so that portion above 5 million will be taxed at a welcome tax rate of 3%. And this will be adopted later on in the month of December.
Well, thank you, Councillor Early. Now we go on to the next item, C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hereby give notice of motion that bylaw 2554-1, amending bylaw 2554 entitled bylaw 2554 instituting a water filter rebate program in order to amend the amounts for the rebate provided by the program will be presented at a later meeting for adoption. Furthermore, I table draft bylaw 2554-1, amending bylaw 2554 entitled bylaw 2554 instituting a water filter rebate program in order to amend the amounts of the rebate provided by the program.
Thank you, Councillor Early, and now you can explain that one.
So this is an amendment to our water rebate program. As I mentioned earlier, to date this year, we've given out 166 water rebates. Those rebates have been $50 rebates for residents who purchased what are called the NSF 53 filters. So these are the ones that are either in a pitcher, let's say, and certain Brita filters, for example, would qualify. These could be faucet mounted filters, et cetera. And what we're looking at is a larger rebate, a $200 rebate for filters that meet the NSF 58 filter. And this includes filters that are using a reverse osmosis system. So osmosis, for those that don't know, it's a movement of a solvent or liquid from an area of high concentration to low concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. And if I think back to my university days, we used to do a lot of fun experiments with osmosis and diffusion. Reverse osmosis is the opposite process. It's where you actually push a liquid, in this case water, from an area of low concentration to high concentration. So you're actually working backwards by applying pressure. And what this semi-permeable membrane does is it blocks, in this case, lead or other elements that are not ones that we want in our drinking water. So you'll be hearing more information about this new program in the upcoming weeks, but it applies to residents that have homes that were built prior to 1976. So homes that may have lead service lines. We're going to be doing more testing next summer with hopefully COVID will subside and we'll be able to do a lot more tests, and that is our goal. But in the interim, we want to err on the side of caution. We encourage residents to either purchase one of the NSF 53, which again are the smaller filters that either go on your tap or on a pitcher, or let's say the more extensive one, the NSF 58s, which are the ones usually that go under the sink. And so you'll be hearing more information about this in the upcoming weeks.
Thank you, Councillor Early. And why we added this program to bring up the rebate to $200 for the type of solution that's more permanent in terms of it's attached to your the tap that you will use for your drinking water primarily, is because we want to encourage people to purchase it. Once you purchase it, it's there. And you just need to buy filters over time, but we will be having our annual rebate program for filters for the foreseeable future. And we recommend anybody who has a concern where they may have a lead pipe to take advantage of this $200 rebate, which would pay for basically almost, the price ranges, depending on what you buy, are pretty much in the $200 and something to $300 range to get this device attached to your tap where you use your drinking water. So we're strongly recommending it as a solution until your pipes are changed. Okay, so that's the notice of motions and tabling. And now we move on to item 5D. Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council modifies the bylaws identified in the annex by replacing the expense or loan amounts with the amounts indicated under the heading New Expense Amount and New Loan Amount in the annex. by adding the provision to the effect that to discharge a portion of the expense, the municipality will allocate from its general fund the amount shown under the heading General Fund in the annex, by modifying the provision concerning the allocation of a grant to indicate the amount shown under the heading Grant in the annex, and that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council inform the Ministère des Affaires Municipales et de l'Habitation that the borrowing authority for the bylaws identified in the annex will not be used entirely because of the changes made to the bylaws by this resolution, and where applicable, the quotas paid by the proponents or the amounts received from the taxpayers in a single installment for their capital payment. The amounts of these allocations are shown under the heading Proponent and Cash Payment in the annex. That the Côte Saint-Luc City Council asks the ministry to cancel in its registers the residual balances mentioned in the annex, that the certified true copy of this resolution be sent to the Ministre des Affaires Municipales et de l'Habitation, and that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby confirm the total fulfillment of bylaw objectives and the cancellation of several residual balances.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Bercu. Any discussion, Councillor Erdely?
So I'll explain this because this one I know is a little bit confusing. So this applies to 4 bylaws that have been basically adopted over the last few years from 2017 to 2019. What happened with these bylaws is the money was spent for the most part. So there remained in total $79,000. So it was split among these 4 bylaws, but basically $26,000 from one of them, $11,000, $9,000, and $33,000. So what this is again to say to the Ministère des Affaires Municipales that the projects are done. So these were projects, as an example, to purchase vehicles, heavy vehicles and some smaller vehicles, and for work at the Public Works Yard. So the projects are done. So this is to indicate to the ministry that the projects are done. We don't need to borrow any more money. And if any money was borrowed, we can use that money or allocate that money to other projects that the city is doing. And again, it's just so the ministry can know where we're at in terms of projects, and to help us again with having good credit rating. And as I mentioned earlier in the evening, we were able to secure quite a good rate on borrowing, partly because the city of Côte Saint-Luc has such a good credit rating.
Oh, okay, so moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to the next item, which is 5F, the resolution for disbursements for the month of October. Councillor, oh no,
Mayor Brownstein.
The tabling, Maître Schechter, do the tabling, number E.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brownstein. So in conformity with Article 105.4 of the Cities and Towns Act, I'm hereby confirming that the second comparative statement has indeed been prepared and filed by our city treasurer. This document has a twofold purpose. It compares the revenues and expenses between this fiscal year and last fiscal year, and it also allows us to compare the original budget to the revised budget based on current information and projections.
Thank you. Councillor Erdely, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just want to say a few words. So right now, the financial situation for the city looks good for the year 2020. Obviously, the year is still not over, but at this point, we are predicting a surplus for 2020. We were able to, luckily, we're able to cancel some contracts to prevent the city from spending amounts that weren't unnecessary. We spent extra in certain line items because of COVID-19, of course, in terms of adding extra programs, but we were also able to save on other sides or in other elements. It also appears that we'll be making more, or the city will be earning more in terms of property transfer or welcome tax this year than we expected. Obviously, we'll only have the final numbers after December 31st. But at this point, it looks that we will be having a surplus for the year 2020.
Thank you. Councillor Bercu, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I also want to comment on this. As you can see from page 188 of the digital version, we, in fact, contrary to what has been suggested, there's been a reduction in expenses due to reduced services provided to the public. There's been a reduction to employer contributions and employee benefits due to layoff of auxiliary staff. There's been a reduction to transfer of long-term debt. All this, even though we are in a period of COVID, we have seen reductions and triggered by what I would consider to be false accusations that we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on overtime. I did ask our treasurer what the status was with regard to overtime, and I was informed that overtime expenses in 2020 is significantly less than in previous years and less than the budget original and revised. So, you know, there were accusations launched that the mayor and the directors are mismanaging our overtime budget. And I feel that this is absolutely false. And here you have the truth given in the presentation of the budget, both the budget to date and the revised budget. Thank you.
Okay, I would just like to thank all of our directors, particularly for the work they did this year. It was not an easy year. It was running a budget in a completely backwards way. Instead of dealing with programming, it was dealing with COVID and finding ways to make up for lost revenue. They had to cut expenses because we didn't charge for programming. And they did an excellent job. Overall, by the leadership of our city treasurer, Angelo Marino, thank you so much. Excellent job by our staff, and we're predicting a significant surplus, and we're going to be going into budget meetings over the next couple of weeks, and we'll give final details on 2020 and our projections for 2021. But our financial situation is good, and it's really largely in thanks to excellent work by our administration. We have an excellent council, and we certainly have top-notch directors who came to the challenge of cutting where they had to, adapting where revenues were lost, and unfortunately having to lay off staff where needed, but we did well financially. So thank you to all. Councillor Erdely.
Yeah, I just want to echo the mayor's sentiment and say a special thank you to our treasurer, Angelo Marino. You know, throughout this, throughout the pandemic, Treasurer Marino has been working on different simulations, different scenarios, what would happen in this case, depending on how long the pandemic lasted, depending on how much better or worse it got, and running simulations constantly, encouraging us on certain points to hold back on certain spending and to be a little bit more frugal. We really appreciate his guidance, and we're very happy to have him as our treasurer.
Thank you. Okay, so that's been tabled. Thank you, Maitre Schechter. And we're going to move to the next item, which is Councillor Erdely, item F, 5F.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the attached list of disbursements for the period of October 1st, 2020 to October 31st, 2020 for a total amount of $5,650,392.79 in Canadian funds. And that Treasurer Certificate number 20-0108 dated November 2nd, 2020 has been issued by the City Treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Bercu. Any discussion? Councillor Erdely.
So just to share, this is slightly higher than our normal monthly disbursement. Normally we're in the vicinity of about $3 million. So the larger items, there are two capital repayments. So again, with certain bonds, every year, every few years, we have payments to make. So there was bond 90 and 93, a payment on each of those. And the other large items are our work on the arena roof, which was repaired over the last few months. The City Hall envelope, which is still an ongoing project, but we are approaching the end of this project after many years. And the other large one is work on our water pipes through SEMA, which is our manager that is responsible for the water system in Côte Saint-Luc. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And now we move on to Human Resources, item 6.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if we actually voted on this one, just for the.
Thank you. Yeah, moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 6. 6A. Councillor Erdely, it's yours again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My last one for a little bit. Be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Chelsea Desjardins as an accounting agent, white collar permanent position effective October 22nd, 2020, and that treasurer certificate number 20-0103 dated October 27th, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
It's moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Burku, I guess. Can second this motion. Thank you. Any discussion, Councillor Erdely?
So just to mention, Chelsea Desjardins has been an employee, has been working in the city's finance department for 4 years now. So there was an opening when another staff member left the department. So this is a promotion from her from accounting clerk to accounting agent. And we look forward to continuing to work with Chelsea in this new position.
Thank you, Councillor Erdely. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. And now we move to, so that's carried unanimously, 6B, Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council ratifies the appointment of Hélène Fortin as a reception, admission, and shop attendant, white collar auxiliary position effective September 18th, 2020. The treasurer certificate number 20-0104 dated October 27th, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? Okay, so it's a hiring for the ACC reception. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. And we move to item 6C, Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Nathaniel Wazana as a teen lounge administrator for a fixed term management contract effective October 18th, 2020 to October 15th, 2021. The treasurer certificate number 20-0107 dated November 2nd, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
So it's been moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? So
well, hopefully Mr. Wazana is able to work in person one day soon and not only virtually, but welcome to him.
right. So this position specifically is to help our teens be connected, active, involved, and deal with any issues. And we talk about mental health and keeping people involved. So this teen lounge animator is a key person that can help us with that. And hopefully he'll be able to do something in person with the kids. Otherwise, we are always looking at virtual. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried unanimously. We move to item 6D, Councillor Ben-Isri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the appointment of Jean-François Lagarde to the superior function of driver operator of motorized equipment B effective October 26, 2020. That treasurer's certificate number 20-0106 dated October 27, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Thank you, Councillor Ben-Isri, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? Okay, speaks for itself. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to item 6E, Councillor Kajowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council hereby ratifies the contract extension for Harenya Mata, Recreation Coordinator, for a fixed term effective from September 21st, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. The treasurer's certificate number 20-0105 dated October 27th, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the above described expenses.
Moved by Councillor Kajowski, seconded by Councillor Ben-Isri. Any discussion?
Again, self-explanatory, but we're happy that Harenya is staying with us.
All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we move to Legal Services City Clerk, 7A, Councillor Erdely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council officially declare that such statement of pecuniary interest has been received from Councillor Dita Burku and instructs the city clerk to deposit same in the archives of the city, as well as to send the official list of those who filed their declaration to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Habitation.
Moved by Councillor Erdely, seconded by Councillor Torgman. Any discussion?
So just if I may explain, every councillor every year has to complete the statement of pecuniary interest. The reason right now it's only Councillor Burku is because 4 years ago, Councillor Burku was a claim, so she had to submit her statement a little bit earlier. So she's slightly out of phase with the rest of the members of council. And I believe Maître Schechter will all be doing it, I guess, in the next month or so, in the next month or 6 weeks.
That is correct. You're all slated to file yours at the next regular council meeting.
All right. Thank you, Maître Schechter.
My pleasure.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Councillor Sabag, I'm sure you're in favor of Councillor Burku. Yeah, great. Okay, so now we move on to 7B, Councillor Burku. You're muted.
I was looking for a French resolution, but maybe next time. So whereas on December 4th, 2017, the city filed proceedings bearing docket number 517-101-306-176 against DIS Solutions, Inc. and Société d'Assurance Générale Northbridge, whereas the parties wish to amicably resolve any outstanding issues regarding the proceedings. Be it resolved that the preamble of this resolution shall form an integral part thereof as if cited herein at length, that the Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby ratifies the filing of the proceedings, that the Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby accepts an offer of settlement from the defendants in the amount of $60,000, including all applicable taxes, that the co-city manager, director of legal services and city clerk be and is hereby authorized to approve and sign any document giving effect to the foregoing.
Thank you, Councillor Burku. Seconded by Councillor Erdely. Any discussion?
Yeah, so this is basically a claim that we filed against a service provider who was, let me just go up to the top here. He was, this service provider was servicing our HVAC system and providing the chemical solutions to maintain it properly. And in 2017, there was a breakdown and we sued the service provider, this company. And finally, after many years of protracted proceedings, we have agreed to accept the offer of $60,000. And that's basically what it amounts to. So it's to compensate us for the damages we suffered due to that breakdown.
Thank you, Councillor Burku. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Khan, carried unanimously. And now we move to item 7C. Councillor Burku.
Okay, so this is a claim, so, also authorization. Il n'y a pas de résolution en français, hein, Maître Schechter, la prochaine fois. Okay. Authorization to settle a claim related to bodily injuries in the amount of $6,500. The where am I? Can you? I'm sorry, I lost the page.
Page 247.
247.
No, that-
Okay.
It's, sorry, page 329.
I got it. OK, bon, finalement. Attendu que le 25 septembre 2019, Mme Claire Biskin a formulé un avis de réclamation contre la ville de Côte Saint-Luc pour des dommages corporels subis le 19 août 2019. Il est résolu que le préambule de la présente résolution fait partie intégrante de celle-ci, comme s'il était longuement cité ci-après, que le conseil municipal de Côte Saint-Luc autorise par les présentes le règlement de la réclamation sous-mentionnée reçue de Mme Claire Biskin au montant de 6 500 $, incluant toute taxe applicable, que le co-directeur de la ville, directeur des services juridiques et le greffier de la ville soit et par les présentes autorisés à approuver et à signer tout document donnant effet à ce qui précède.
Proposé par le conseiller Burku et appuyé par le conseiller Early. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
Oui, alors Madame Biskin a subi une blessure suite à une chute, je pense que c'était dans la bibliothèque, et on nous a recommandé de la compenser au montant de 6 500 $ pour cette réclamation.
Merci.
J'ai juste un petit amendement amical.
Oui.
Pour la résolution. Pour ce qui est de mon titre, moi, je suis co-directeur général, juste pour rajouter ce qu'il faudrait, mais aussi j'aimerais que le greffier adjoint soit également autorisé à signer l'entente.
Oui, d'accord. Vous pouvez faire l'amendement.
Il a fait beaucoup de travail dans ce dossier, puis il connaît bien le dossier.
D'accord. OK, merci.
OK, merci. Tout le monde en faveur? Okay, c'est unanimement. Okay, now we go to the next one, which is Public Works, 8A, Councilor Ben-Israel.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Est résolu que le conseil municipal de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc, par la présente, approuve et adopte la lettre de renouvellement, 8e renouvellement, en vigueur à partir du 10 novembre 2019, afin de renouveler l'entente originale pour le dépôt de neige en date du 15 mai 2009, modifié par la suite par le premier, le second, le troisième, le quatrième, le cinquième, le sixième et le 7e renouvellement entre la ville de Côte Saint-Luc et la ville de Hampstead pour la saison hivernale 2020-2021, selon les conditions et modifications énoncées dans le 8e renouvellement. Que la conseillère générale de la ville soit autorisée par la présente à signer le 8e renouvellement susmentionné au nom de la ville.
C'est proposé par le conseiller Ben-Israel et appuyé par le conseiller, comme vous voulez, Sebag. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions?
C'est pour le renouvellement là, du contrat avec la ville de Hampstead pour le dépôt à neige, comme à chaque année.
Excellent. Tout le monde en faveur? C'est le conseiller Cohen. Vous êtes en faveur? OK, merci. OK, c'est unanime. All right, so now we go to number 9A. Number 9A, Councilor Ben-Israel.
I'm just going to my page. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Be resolved that the City of Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby awards a contract for professional service regarding the renovation of the Public Works Yard to Groupe Conseil Génie Pur Incorporé, the lowest bidder under the law for a total amount of $110,600 plus applicable taxes. That furthermore, the city may consider an amount of 10% plus applicable taxes for any potential contingency and extras if required, which shall first be approved according to the city's procedures. That the described expenses shall be financed from loan by law 2545 previously approved by the Ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation. That Treasurer's Certificate number TC 20-0098 dated October 16, 2020 has been issued by the city treasurer attesting to the availability of funds to cover the described expenses.
Moved by Councilor Ben-Israel, seconded by Councilor Sebag. Any discussion? It's for renovation of the public yards. Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor. Councilor Cohen? All in favor. Carried unanimously. And now we move to item number 10, Councilor Burku, Urban Development. item 10A. You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So be it resolved that Côte Saint-Luc Council hereby accepts the offer to purchase agreement with the purchaser in regards to the property situated at 5630 Hudson Avenue, owned by Mr. Fawzia Bejom. And in regards to the property, and this for the amount of $53.89 per square foot, for a total of $16,167 plus applicable taxes, that the council hereby ratifies the City General Council's signature of the offer to purchase agreement with the purchaser, and that the city's general counsel be authorized to sign on the city's behalf a notarial deed of sale incorporating the terms of the aforementioned offer to purchase. Maybe I should just read the first whereas so it's clear that the City of Côte Saint-Luc wishes to enter into an offer to purchase agreement in regards to a 300 square foot city-owned lane, cadastral number 6160557, adjacent to the property situated at 5630 Hudson, owned by Mr. Bejom. So we are selling him a city lane for $16,167. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Burku. Seconded by Councilor Gadowski. So that's for a lane. All in favor?
For the part of the lane that's behind his house.
Right, exactly. All in favor? I think everybody was in favor, carried unanimously. And then we move to the next urban planning section, number 10A.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Councilor Erdely to share the screen and post any perspectives that are available. The first item is item 10.1A. It's 5772 Davies. Alors, it's with regard to a solarium. Français. Il est proposé et résolu que le plan d'implantation et d'intégration architecturale montrant le rajout d'une extension proposée arrière solarium sur le lot 105-2145 au 5772 Davies est préparé par Zitco Solarium Entrepreneur pour la réunion du comité consultatif d'urbanisme du 15 septembre 2020, soit approuvé conformément aux dispositions du chapitre 14 du règlement 2217 de la ville de Côte Saint-Luc.
Proposé par le conseiller Burku et appuyé par le conseiller Kajowski.
Yeah, so that's a nice solarium extension. And in a moment, we're going to have to give it a very minor exemption because it's a little close to the property line, but not too bad.
So moved and seconded, all in favor? Councillor Cohen? Carried unanimously. All the actions in Councillor Kajowski's district today. So now we move to item 10.2, 3 minor exemptions for Councillor Kajowski.
Okay, just a second. Let me see where we are. I have to get to the right address. 10.2, sorry. So that's Rand. This, okay. Conformément aux dispositions du règlement G18-005, qu'une demande de dérogation mineure concernant une propriété localisée au 5728 Rand, lot 105-2731, soit et par les présentes approuvées, le tout tel que plus amplement décrit ci-dessous. La demande vise à permettre pour une habitation unifamiliale isolée existante et construite en 1955 sous le permis numéro 642 d'être localisée à 14,43 pieds de la ligne de terrain face à l'avenue Rand, au lieu de la marge de recul avant minimum de 15 pieds. Et deuxièmement, d'autoriser d'être localisé à 10,66 pieds de la ligne de terrain face au chemin Kildare, au lieu de la marge de recul avant de 15 pieds. Le tout nonobstant des dispositions du règlement du zonage 2217, annexe B, zone RU 21.
Proposé par le conseiller Burku et appuyé par le conseiller Kajewski.
Right. So this is really what's classically called a minor exemption. It was built a little too close to the property line on Rand and a little too close to property line on Kildare. And so we are granting the minor exemption since the property was built in 1955. So something like that. Yeah.
Thank you. So
All
moved
right.
and seconded, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We move to the next minor exemption,
Next
5744
one
Blossom.
is Blossom. So let's see what's going on Blossom. Be it resolved in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-005, the request for a minor exemption regarding the property located at 5744 Blossom, lot 105-2235, being is hereby approved. The whole is more amply delineated hereunder. The request in order to allow for an existing detached single-family dwelling built in 1963 under permit number 2038 to be located at 6.4 feet from the lateral land line instead of the minimum required lateral setback of 6.5 feet. The whole notwithstanding the provisions of zoning bylaw 2217 Annex B, Zone RU16.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. Any discussion?
Yeah, well, this is what happens when the surveyor's equipment is much more precise in 2020 than it was in 1963. We're off by 0.1 of a foot, not even, I don't even know how many inches that is.
That seems
3
like a
centimeters.
3 centimeters.
Yeah, no, it's, anyway.
All in favor? All in favor? Carried unanimously, and we go to 10.2C. We're back to Davies.
Okay, bon, alors, as I said before, we're going to have to give them a minor exemption in order to install their solarium. So be it resolved that in accordance with the provisions of bylaw G18-005, the request for minor exemption regarding the property located at 5772 Davies being is hereby approved. The request in order to allow for the construction of a real solarium to be located at 18.57 feet from the rear land line instead of the minimum required rear setback of 20 feet. The whole in accordance with the provisions of bylaw 2217 Annex B, Zone RU40.
Okay, moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Kajewski. That's the minor exemption for the solarium we already discussed. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And then we move on to the next item, which is stances at the Aglo. Councillor Torgman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the council take the following stance in view of any agglomeration council meetings to be held in December 2020 as follows. To authorize the mayor or his duly authorized replacement to make any decisions he deems necessary and in the best interest of the city of Côte Saint-Luc and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the agglomeration council meetings to be held in December 2020 based on the information to be presented during those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor Torgman, seconded by Councillor Sabag. Any discussion? That's the general resolution to authorizing me to speak on behalf of council at the Aglo. Moved and seconded, all in favor. Carried unanimously, and now we go to other business. We have one other item under the other business. No, is it other business or second Director Schechter? Maitre Schechter?
Would adjudicate first upon the other business, and then after that you would go to the second question period. So you would deal with the other business first.
Okay, so don't we have other business? Isn't there a
Correct. Yes, there's a resolution that needs
to. Councillor Burku, go ahead.
Okay, so be it resolved that the Côte Saint-Luc City Council approves the dismissal of employee 1035 effective November 9th, 2020.
Moved by Councillor Burku, seconded by Councillor Erdely. As this is an HR matter, I'm not going to be asking for any discussion. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carried with Councillor Torgman and Councillor Sabag dissenting. And now we move to the second question period. Are there any questions?
I don't think we have any questions. I'm just going to ask, Daryl, is the chat open?
I believe people have to refresh their page to be able
Yeah,
to.
also people do have to refresh the page, yeah.
Director Levine, do we have anything? So I'll ask for a mover for adjournment. Moved by,
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
seconded by Councilor Sabag. All in favor? Thank you all. We're adjourned. Have a pleasant evening, and we'll see you all soon. Stay well.